Hello, welcome to Breakfast Central. This beautiful Wednesday morning, we're having part Breakfast Central, part Breakfast Extra. So it just goes to show you that we have a bumper show for you today. Good to see you, Judith.
And good morning to you, Benga. A very good morning to you, and happy Wednesday. It's a
very newsy Wednesday.
Yeah,
so many things went down.
Look,
Tuesday. Yesterday has to be
terrific Tuesday.
Terrific.
Tuesday.
In different.
And so Wednesday will be a bumper Wednesday.
I believe so.
Yeah, it's a bumper Wednesday.
And it's a very bumper show today.
Absolutely.
There's a lot going on in Nigeria and of course around the world. Yesterday, Nicki Minaj was speaking at the United Nations. So many things happening. We still have the case of the missing girls in Kebbi. And of course, we saw what happened at Wadata Plaza at the PDP secretariat in Abuja. We'll bring you details of all of this and more. Welcome to Breakfast Central. I am Benga Aboroa.
And I'm Judith, the TV. Like you rightly said, there's so much lined up for you today. We're going to start with the PDP crisis, and we head on as we now know that the president of Nigeria has jetted off for the G20 summit in South Africa. From there, he will be going for the AU and EU summit in Angola as well. Plus, we will be looking at security and SERAP as well, as they have now charged the, what ministry is it?
Central Bank of Nigeria.
Central Bank of Nigeria for a 3 trillion naira that is noticeably absent.
That's a huge amount of money to just go missing and for us to move on. And I really like SERAP for the advocacy they're doing. You know, keep them on the toes. We need to talk about accountability. And we're looking forward to speaking to the Deputy Director to shed more light on where those missing monies might be. Right,
indeed. And we'll also hear from both sides of the conversation as it regards the PDP as well. We'll be hearing from different factions to just give us a bit of insight as to what really unfolded yesterday and what the future holds for what is supposed to be the biggest opposition party for Nigeria's polity as we head into 2027. So much is lined up for you this morning.
Yeah, but as usual, on Breakfast Central, we'll start off with our wake-up conversations. Let's start with what lawmakers are saying. Nigerian lawmakers seem to be concerned about, and rightly so, about the security situation in the country. In a development that has stirred fresh criticism, lawmakers have decried the rising wave of bandit attacks and urged the federal government to embark on massive military recruitment to strengthen national security. Speaking on the floor, Abductions, representing Borno Central, expressed deep concerns over the escalating insecurity. Yet, in the midst of these urgent concerns, many Nigerians are questioning the government's priorities. You just mentioned the president would be jetting off to Angola and South Africa. To think that the federal government swiftly reacted to PDP's Turaki calling for Donald Trump to save Nigeria's democracy, but almost took 24 hours to issue a formal response to the horrific Kebbi school attack has only deepened public frustration, while the APC postponed planned defection reception in Taraba due to worsening insecurity, putting Governor Abu Kefas under pressure. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, like I rightly said, has jetted off to South Africa to attend the G20 summit in South Africa, Johannesburg. Judith, what do you make of what the lawmakers are doing and just the optics and the body language of the government in these very trying times?
Look, I would say that the odds are in the favor of this administration. I got to put it out there.
In their favor, in what sense?
In the favor of them, because the opposition has not been able to gather the camps together. I remember when insecurity was rife, you know, and when it was at its all-time high. And I don't even know if there's ever been a low, but back in 2014, when we saw the Chibok girls and we saw reprisal attacks and we saw communities being, you know, attacked in Plateau, Benue, and in Kaduna South, we saw a very strong opposition that was vocal, and that opposition was the APC.
Very true.
And that's what I mean by the odds are in their favor at this time, because the House is not whether it's the PDP or the Labour Party or the ADC, they seem to be so, you know, entrenched in their own in-house chaos or internal chaos to be able to put a united front, to speak truth to power, hold government accountable, but most importantly, be at the fore of the issues for the sake of Nigeria. So that's why I mean that the odds are in their favor.
Let's take a listen to Senator Ningi.
What we are missing is infallibility to keep getting at us. Now we are being saddled with a responsibility going forward. Are these terrorists appeasable? Can we reach out to them? There are one school of thought who imagined that these terrorists could be reached and then discussions take place. There is another school of thought who thinks that these terrorists should be met with all the force. And that is the entanglement, Mr. President, we are in. It took the parliament like ours to come up and tell this government whether we can appease these terrorists or that we can go after these terrorists. Lives have been lost. Imagine if any one of us has a daughter now in captivity in Kebbi. Will you be sleeping? Is it possible for you to survive when your own daughter is taken? And because these daughters are not ours, we begin to be political and lackadaisical in meeting the expectations of our people. It's a bad day for me, sir.
I mean, he hit the nail on the head. When they begin to, to relate to these victims as theirs, then they might have some level of compassion and they will be urged to do something about it. But we've gone through this so many times. It's almost like empty talk until the next one happens.
I refuse to accept that language because, and forgive me, right? All fair to Senator Ningi, he's doing his best to somewhat, draw empathy from the House or from the Senate. Yeah. But I do have to ask that, isn't the Senate the representation of the Nigerian people? Do you need to use that language to maybe draw empathy for them? Shouldn't they have empathy? Point blank, period, right? And that's why from the top to the bottom, there's a lot that needs to be asked in terms of why exactly this administration is doing what they're doing now, when if you flash back 10 years ago, a decade ago, when the tables were turned, it was a completely different conversation. If your president is jetting off at a time as this, and there is no person, not even anyone, you were one of the persons who were against the insecurity, you were very vocal about it, you actually sent a delegation to, the US to do all of that. You shouldn't be on a plane heading somewhere else.
You can cancel it.
You can send delegates, right? You got foreign ministers, you got, foreign affairs, you have persons who can handle it and be
the next day after this kidnapping in Kebbi took place, the vice president was in Lokoja to receive the former governor, Idris Wada. It was the campaign to the APC, and they were dancing. The optics are just terrible. They need to understand the mood. They need to be able to read the room. And the president traveling at this point in time, when the United States Congress is going to have a session on Thursday, they will take eyewitness testimonies on this sort of, on the CPC designation and the so-called Christian genocide in Nigeria. We're under a lot of pressure, and the government doesn't seem to be bothered. Right.
Speaking of the U.S. genocide, we've got a tweet here, or the allegations of Christian genocide. We have a tweet here from U.S. lawmaker Riley Moore. Let's just pull that tweet up for you right there on the screen. And it goes on to say, please join me in praying for 25 girls who have been kidnapped and for the response of and the repose of the soul of their vice principal who was killed. While we don't have all the details on this horrific attack, we know that the attack occurred in a Christian enclave in northern Nigeria. The Nigerian government must do more to end the rampant violence. Now, after that, there was a counter response, and this one was from Bashir Ahmed, who goes on to say, while appreciating your concern and praying for our sisters, it is important to correct a crucial detail here. The attack did not occur in a Christian enclave. It happened within a Muslim community, and the victims themselves were Muslims. This is precisely why we keep saying that even you Americans either do not understand the complexity of Nigeria's insecurity challenge, or you are deliberately pushing unholy narratives that risk worsening our already fragile unity. Now, with that tweet, the federal government has also sent, in the meantime, we need to state here that the federal government has sent the Vice President Kashim Shettima to Kebbi to just assess and speak to those whose families who have been taken. And this is a State House press release there from Bayo Onanuga, who is a part of the press team for the presidency. And it goes there: President Tinubu sends VP Shettima to Kebbi over kidnapped schoolgirls, condoles the military over the death of soldiers, assures on safe return of Kebbi schoolgirls. Now, as you can see from the tweet, he's asked the Vice President to visit Kebbi on Wednesday to sympathize with the state government. We're going to be giving you all in-depth analysis as it unfolds. In the meantime, this is more reactions following this.
It's just, it's like clockwork. Bashiru Akambi says, Mr. President, Nigerians are tired of presidential pity. We didn't elect you to sympathize with families after tragedies. We elected you to prevent those tragedies. How do terrorists walk into a girls' school after intelligence warnings and disappear with children like shadows? How does a brigadier general fall in battle, yet bandits hold territories, collect taxes, and move freely? And the solution is community cooperation. Sir, the communities are the ones burying their daughters and sons. The military is the one paying the ultimate price. It is the government that keeps failing to secure Nigeria. Under your watch, schoolgirls are kidnapped again and again. Our soldiers are massacred. Parents are tormented by the same horror we swore never again after Chibok.
Right. Now, while we have that on, we have to also talk about something that played out yesterday, and it was Nicki Minaj at the UN in New York speaking on this Christian genocide. I'm going to play a bit of, let's just roll the clip for you there, which was making a statement. If you haven't seen the full clip, it's up on our social media, but we're just going to play a short clip for you and then come back to discuss this allegations of Christian genocide.
An honor to stand on this stage with you and the other distinguished speakers here today to shine a spotlight on the deadly threat faced by thousands of Christians in Nigeria. I would like to thank President Trump for prioritizing this issue and for his leadership on the global stage and calling for urgent action to defend Christians in Nigeria, to combat extremism, and to bring a stop to violence against those who simply want to exercise their natural right to freedom of religion or belief. I stand here as a proud New Yorker with a deep sense of gratitude that we live in a country where we can freely and safely worship God regardless of one's creed, background, or politics. No group should ever be persecuted for practicing their religion, like I recently stated on social media. And we don't have to share the same beliefs in order for us to respect each other. We're way beyond thinking or expecting or assuming for, the person sitting next to you to have the exact same beliefs. We're beyond that. That's ridiculous. But that shouldn't make one person feel less safe than anyone in any room. In Nigeria, Christians are being targeted, driven from their homes, and killed. Churches have been burned. Families have been torn apart. And entire communities live in fear constantly, simply because of how they pray. Sadly, this problem is not only a growing problem in Nigeria, but also in so many other countries across the world, and it demands urgent action. And I want to be clear. Protecting Christians in Nigeria is not about taking sides or dividing people. It is about uniting humanity. Nigeria is a beautiful nation with deep faith traditions and lots of beautiful barbs that I can't wait to see. When one's church, mosque, or place of worship is destroyed, everyone's heart should break just a little bit.
And with that, there is Nicki Minaj at the UN. They're giving a speech on Christian genocide. Now, on the flip side, We also have the president of CAN, the Christian Association of Nigeria, down the local, also with a response as well. Let's take a look at that, and then we'll come back to take what Nigerians are saying and also our reactions. Roll the clip.
Just today is not accidental. It is intentional, purposeful, and deeply symbolic. CAN has spoken clearly in the past, and we have courageously spoken on this matter, and we stand unwaveringly by our position that there is Christian genocide in Nigeria.
Archbishop Daniel Oko there, who is the national president for the Christian Association of Nigeria, just explicitly stating there and not mincing words that there is Christian genocide in Nigeria. Now, before we get on to what Nigerians are saying, Benga, two things can be true side by side,
yes,
right? One is we have seen attacks on Christian communities, whether we like it or not.
And we've also seen
on Muslim communities for decades, no questions asked. But what I find disheartening and unfair and ingenious is that we're having individuals like
Nicki Minaj. You don't
at
think
the
it's
UN,
coming from a place of genuine concern?
No, I don't. It's disingenuous.
I mean, bring back our girls.
It's disingenuous.
Almost all the celebrities.
It's disingenuous.
Why do you say so?
Why I say so is this. There is not one time this woman has taken up the cause of Nigerians, whether when it comes to our polity, whether it comes to gender-based violence, even in America.
Even entertainment.
Even in entertainment. Yeah. Even within the African-American Afro-Caribbean community, which she is from,
yes,
even with the females in the music industry, whether in America or I've never seen her discuss those issues, but somehow she has now. And so to me, this is now politicization of lives.
I agree with you, which is unfair, regardless of what she says or what comes out of her mouth. Another thing I want to say is the use of words. We're journalists. Words are very important. And there's an academic definition of genocide. There's a threshold. There's a group of association of genocide scholars. And genocide is a very powerful word. You just don't throw it around. The genocide in Gaza, before the United Nations declared it a genocide, it took about 2 years. The Holocaust scholars, there are people there's an academic threshold on this. I mean, before you can declare genocide, but we reduce the meaning by throwing it around. Are Christians being killed? Yes, nobody's denying it. But the way it's being painted, it's almost like, and there's wall-to-wall coverage in American media on this issue. You wonder what is really going on here. Because, I mean, I'm in Nigeria, and you think if you're walking on the street and you identify yourself as a Christian,
I agree with you. That term is such a blanket word.
At the end of the day, the buck stops at our table. The federal government should have stopped the killing of any Nigerian in any place across the country, which is their own failing. That's why they've opened this opportunity for Nigeria to be ridiculed in the international community.
Indeed. Let's quickly let's just roll the clip. Now Nigerians are reacting to all that's happening, whether insecurity or what's going on unfolding in the U.S. And at the UN, as well as statements from from CAN. Very quickly, let's see what Nigerians are saying on Twitter. We're going to pull up some of those tweets for you right about now. Okay. All right.
Senator Shehu Sani says the kidnapping of Kebbi students is once again another tragic act of cruelty and horror by terrorists after a long time. This condemnable, cowardly, and evil act must not break the spirit of this nation in the ongoing battle. All efforts must be made to secure their release and safe return. I remain optimistic that it is achievable.
This one here is from Genesis. It goes, where were you all when Buhari introduced the repentant bandits policy, granting a budget for the same people who are killing us today, so that they can be well fed and reintegrated into the security units? Where were you all? That was the beginning of our downfall. Our military is gone.
Very pessimistic picture there from Genesis. Vira Niger says Nigeria is bleeding back to back, and those in power are acting like business as usual. A brigadier general gone yesterday. School children snatched. If it was their own kids, this country would be on lockdown by now. Enough is enough. Leadership must wake up or step aside.
Step aside.
Enough is enough, really.
And this one here is Iliya Binoni Farouk goes on to say, why is this Senate talking rather than acting? Why would the Senate be complaining rather than acting to immediately wipe the terrorist? They should put the president on his toes. We are tired of their stories. Well, when they're chanting on your mandate, you should stand, both at the judiciary level and the green chamber and red chamber, there's no autonomy now.
What do you expect? And Donex says, my theory is that the government has signed a secret evil pact with some top-ranking officials and the military and powerful people in this country to turn a blind eye to terrorism, and failure to do will result in a military. Okay, that's his opinion.
Let's move on, shall we? Move away from insecurity now to one of the biggest things that we saw yesterday. It was everywhere. A display of brute force and factional and control for battle for control.
A display of do you know who I am? Yeah.
Now, tensions within the People's Democratic Party, the PDP, erupted violently at the party secretariat on Monday as factions loyal to Turaki, Bala Mohammed, and Sheyi Makinde clashed with groups aligned to Samuel Anyanwu, Ayodele Fayose, and Nyesom Wike. The confrontation follows last weekend's controversial national convention in Ibadan, where Wike, Fayose, and 8 other party stalwarts were expelled over alleged anti-party activities, a decision that has since deepened internal divisions. And today's clash, or rather yesterday's clash, turned physical, with supporters on both sides reportedly engaging in fights and security operatives resorting to tear gas to restore order. Now, the aftermath of that, Wike's faction reportedly expelled Bodejud and other members aligned with the rival Turaki group, further escalating the power struggle and highlighting the simmering tensions that continue to engulf the party. Now, first of all, let's just take a look at these videos from yesterday to help us get a clear understanding of what we're talking about when we say chaos ensued at the headquarters. Take a look.
Chaos indeed.
We will try to bring you that.
Chaotic scenes at Wadata Plaza yesterday, and you wonder, these are meant to be leaders. You have people that have reached the highest peak of their careers. You have senior advocates of Nigeria, you have former ministers, and to see this display, I mean, democracy is meant to be a civil exercise. Why can't grown adults act like adults? What example are they setting for younger children? You know, you expel me, I expel you. And it's a tragedy for our democracy, because PDP held sway. Exactly, you push me, I push you. PDP held sway for 16 years. There was a time they claimed to be the biggest political party in Black Africa. And to see the mess it's in now, we're approaching a penultimate year to a general election. We need a viable opposition. It makes democracy thrive. But a house divided on itself cannot stand. So I wonder how they're going to solve all of this. And the judiciary too, unfortunately, is not helping matters. Right. There are 3 judgments on that convention.
Right.
1 in Ibadan, 2 in Abuja. We don't know. We need a higher court to interpret, and, you know, just, I guess it's the judiciary that will put an end to this madness going on in the PDP.
And look, there are 4 things here, right? I'm going to start with the latter, which you just pointed out, which is the courts really, the conflict, when it comes to the conflicts of court interest or court rulings on party or political parties' internal affairs and matters, especially when they're going to different courts across the country. It just... To get judgment. It deepens an already chaotic situation. It deepens the rift even more, and the divide the rip only just, you know, widens. That's 1. Then 2, we also have to look at Wike as well. Wike, you are an honorary member of the APC. They have expelled you. Kuma use this one and take River State and go to APC. I don't look. I don't get it.
Everyone has been defecting. It's not a big deal.
It's not a big deal anymore.
Yeah.
Kuma just, it's like it's the scene from the Superman where Clark Kent decides to rip his shirt, and we see the S. Rip your shirt. Let's see the APC. There's no need going to go and do factions. Just take the structure, the entire structure, because the entire structure in River State is already loyal to you. We don't see Fubara in the mix of all of this. He's become docile after he's been reinstated back.
He's gone through a lot.
Just rip the shirt. Let's see the APC
His argument,
emblem, and then go to
his
APC.
argument would be he's invested a lot in keeping the PDP.
Well, also have you investing in the mandate of Bola Ahmed Tinubu. So why don't you just continue? I think you'll be more useful there, in my opinion. And that's two. And then, sorry guys, I know we're being asked, we're being prompted to do. And then the third is the third and the most important is this. This is a cautionary warning for Nigerians. You rightfully said it, former when in your statement there, that every member of this party and members who are veterans, political jobbers, veterans, politicians, and to see them do the way they are and they're splitting and divide really goes to show that they do not care about the situation and the conditions of Nigerians, about being a true opposition, about speaking truth to power. What they care about is holding power for as long as they can, because if you're not able to get your house together, together, united, to speak and be the face
and cohesive,
then I think those are the things.
Let's watch these videos of what happened yesterday, and then we'll take what Nigerians are saying.
If anybody loses their life in this place, Makinde and Bala Muhammad should be held responsible. These people are violating court order.
Right now, we have the other faction chairman, Turaki, but he was being stopped to come in. Now, there's also Governor Bala Muhammad here. Also, they are stopping him from going in. That is Governor Bala Muhammad being protected here. Now, he's over here. He's being stopped also from going.
I want to call on President Trump. What is at stake is not just genocide against Nigerian Christians. He should come and save democracy in Nigeria. Democracy is under threat. I'm calling on all other developed nations, all advanced democracies, come and save Nigeria, come and save democracy. Because I cannot understand how a serving minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria will be leading talks, armed talks, and then with the active connivance or support of the police to come and create mayhem here. I have said it, we are willing to lay down our lives to protect our office, to protect our democracy, to protect our mandate. So Nigerians, you are watching what is happening. International community, you are seeing the threat that Nigerian democracy is.
Very interesting scenes there.
Battle for the soul of PDP.
So it's ripped out of his chest. But we also do have reactions from what Nigerians have been saying regarding this as they unfolded yesterday on Twitter. We're going to roll some of that for you.
Yes, Pragmatic DB says, it's an open secret that Wike works for Tinubu. Makinde also worked for Tinubu in 2023. Is he also working for Tinubu indirectly so that PDP will not have candidates in Osun State? Is Bala Mohammed working for his own presidential ambition, trying to be VP to GEJ? All of you should start confessing now. Okay.
This is Salako. We also do have Salako here in the building. Wike and Makinde clashing currently in Abuja over occupation of the PDP National Secretariat. I don't understand this country. You work for an APC government, the PDP expelled you, but you are still fighting to hold on to PDP. Who does Wike think that he is? I've said this thing. Rip the shirt and show your true colors. Thank you.
Obioma Onwuka says, look at what the police have been reduced to. Talking, and a policeman is talking. Ordinarily, they picked offense. But look at the display. Policemen know these are the people they market in Nigeria every day. You wouldn't believe schoolgirls were recently kidnapped. Exactly. Looking at what happened yesterday, you won't believe that we have serious issues in the country. Quite unfortunate.
Quite unfortunate indeed. Yaya Abba says, Wike has crossed the line. If we're being honest, he is serving minister under the APC. He should either decamp to the ruling party or resign from his position and fully rejoin the PDP as an opposition figure. I think that's pretty much it for our listening. I got the last fourth comment I was going to make. Minga, forgive me. Very quickly, the PDP brought this on themselves. Ambition tore the party apart.
Personal ambition of some people.
Yeah, and it was a long time coming. They kept sweeping this thing under the carpet, and now what is happening to PDP is a long time coming. The members of the party who had had anti-party activities a long time ago should have been, dealt with decisively. That's one. Then two, and most importantly, this ambition that we're seeing played out that have now caused the rift of the PDP. Will this be the fate of the APC in 10 years? Thank you.
We'll see what happens, but sadly, we have to go now. We'll look at it deeper with our subject matter specialist. But let's bring you the top headlines of what we will be looking at today on Breakfast Central. Our top stories today, PDP leadership crisis. We'll be x-raying what happened at the Wadata Plaza in Abuja yesterday.
We'll also be looking at the PDP faction as the Wike-led faction has expelled the Governor Makinde as well as Bode George.
Serap slams CBN over 3 trillion naira missing funds. We'll start that discussion anytime soon.
And also in NINTEL, MTEL pensioners storm Federal Ministry of Finance headquarters over unpaid arrears.
And of course, we'll bring you the newspaper front pages where you can call in and share your thoughts with us. Breakfast Central continues shortly.
And a very good morning to you. Let's get started officially on Breakfast Central. And this time we bring you a human angle story, most important, one of the important stories shaping our economy. Now, the Socioeconomic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, has given the Central Bank of Nigeria 7 days to explain a missing 3 trillion naira flagged in the Auditor General's report. Now, for viewers who may not have followed the document trail, SERAP's demand is built on findings documented in the 2022 annual report of the Auditor General of the Federation. It was published earlier this year, which SERAP says that it highlights missing or diverted public funds amounting to about 3 trillion naira. Now, SERAP's letter was dated November 15, 2025, and it called on CBN Governor Olayemi Kadosu to account for the funds and identify those responsible for further investigation and prosecution.
3 trillion naira missing funds money that could reshape hospitals, roads, and even schools. This morning, we are asking 2 plain questions. Where is the money? And who will be held accountable for this missing funds? Join us this morning to unpack all of this is the Deputy Director of the Social Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, Mr. Kolawale Oluwadare, joins us from the nation's capital, Abuja. One welcome to you, Kola, and thanks for joining us on Breakfast Central this morning.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Good morning.
I'm trying to wrap my head around the humongous money that is missing. 1 trillion is 12 zeros. That's just to put it in perspective. What exactly did the Auditor General's report uncover that led to the discovery of this missing 3 trillion naira funds?
Thank you very much, Benga. I think it's very important to start from the foundation of the report itself and to note that what Serap had picked out that amounts to 3 trillion is not the full amount that is your
guest. It is Mr. Kolawole Oluwadare. He's the Deputy Director of the Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project. He joins us to discuss 3 trillion naira funds that are missing following an audit or report that was flagged in the Auditor General's report.
We hope to re-establish connection with him soon, but his opening statements is quite shocking to think that, 3 trillion naira is the worst. And he starts by saying that, that's not even the whole thing, but we hope we re-establish connection with him for this very, very important conversation. Like we said in our opening statement, this monies could be used for many things, hospitals, schools, and development. And this huge amount of money cannot just go missing and we turn a blind eye or we'll move on. It would be nice to hear what SERP is doing, the methodology that was used to come up with this amount of money, possible litigation, and and also freedom of speech, freedom of information requests that will be made to make this process transparent. Let's try and see if we've reestablished connection with Mr. Kolawole Oluwadare. Hello, Kola.
Kola, are you there?
Okay.
And whilst we used to try to establish a connection with him, I do have to say that well done to the good guys at SERAP and the hard work that they're doing. But most importantly, it's very interesting how you have anti-graft agencies like the EFCC, ICPC, and other intelligence or anti-graft agencies whose duty is to, report and flag, sub discrepancies like this. But most importantly, accountability and transparency. And somehow it has to take an NGO or, a non-governmental organization to see this. Not 1, not 2, not even billion.
Trillion.
Trillion. And the threes. And like you said, 12 zeros there. And so hopefully when we establish connection with him, there's a number of questions we need to ask. First of all, how did this go unnoticed for so long? And they've also given a 7-day ultimatum to the CBN governor to come out and give full account of that money as has gone missing. There's also a lot that needs to be talked about when it comes to our constitution and provisions as it regards transparency and accountability, because we know for certain that the CBN more than ever are the custodian of our finances, and our economy as well. And when this has gone unnoticed, especially giving at a time where more than ever we need to be stringent with our cash, really, as a nation. And transparency now truly and indeed matters when their infrastructure is failing, whether it's healthcare, whether it's education. The ASU one day is threatening to go on strike. Labor needs more, more money injected. Doctors are on strike. The labor needs more pay, on their minimum wage. And there are still individuals who are still without jobs, and the price of food, although we're seeing inflation going down, but it's taking a long time for the common man to feel it. So now more than ever, there needs to be talk about transparency.
And these are, for the sake of, without even spending the money, they are taxpayers' money. It's Nigeria's money. It's our commonwealth and common patrimony. So why would we deserve to know how every naira is spent and what happens to every kobo? Is just part of governance. Good governance structure is accountability, and it's the government owes it to the people to show a level of accountability.
But when it's now when this administration has somewhat become a boys' club or a band of sycophancy, as critics have argued that's what we're seeing, it begs to ask the question whether the National Assembly or the agencies or the arms of government who are charged with enforcing checks and balances within every sector or every MDAs, ministries, departments, and agencies are also doing their bit to flag these issues and take it up on themselves.
And these are questions we'll be put into Kola Oluwadare, because the agencies, the constituted agencies that have been empowered by the Constitution. You mentioned the EFCC, ICPC, the Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit, and others who have budgetary allocations in their billions year on year. Why are they failing to see these things? Why would it take a civil society organization to flag this sort of grave violation of public trust?
Right. And also, we pray that after the 7 days, this wouldn't come to an end, because we've seen time and time again where issues have been raised, whether it's with budget, who have also called out discrepancies in terms of funds that have been allocated by fact to state and local government chairmen and governors, and they would bring out their budget, and you see a bit of loopholes in terms of line items not being there, and just a lump sum giving to a certain certain item. And now I do hope that after the 7 days, if the CBN doesn't explain or meet the ultimatum, that ultimatum demand by SERAP, it wouldn't die there, because we've seen JAMB, we've seen other agencies, even the NDDC as well is also culpable when it comes to issues of missing fund. Every MDA have been, maybe not all, but some, and that's really goes to speak. Now, if you're just tuning in, you're watching Breakfast at Central here on News Central Television. We are discussing the issue of 3 trillion naira that is missing funds that was flagged by SERAP, and it's now giving the CBN governor 7 days to explain the missing 3 trillion naira. You can see the statement there from SERAP from X up on your screen. Breaking, we are given Mr. Olayemi Cardoso at CBN, at Central Bank governor, 7 days to account for and explain the whereabouts of the missing or diverted 3 trillion naira of public funds, as documented in the recently published 2022 annual report by the Auditor General of the Federation of Face Legal Action. Now, these grim allegations by the Auditor General suggest grave violations of the public trust, the provisions of the Nigerian Constitution 1999 as amended, the CBN Act, and anti-corruption standards. These grave violations also reflect a failure of CBN accountability more generally, and directly linked to the institution's persistent failure to comply with its act and to uphold the principles of transparency and accountability. Now, some might argue that since it's 2022, the CBN governor at the time was
Godwin Emefiele.
I'm sorry, Mr. Lumelu, forgive me.
But we'll get back to that conversation very soon.
Absolutely.
As soon as we reestablish connection with the Deputy Director, Kola Oluwadare of SERAP. But in the meantime, pensioners under the defunct MTIL Corporation are demanding the immediate payment of 35 months pension arrears and other approved increases due them. They made these demands as they protested at the Federal Ministry of Finance headquarters in Abuja. Our correspondent Joshua Imarai reports.
These are pensioners of the defunct MTIL protesting at the Federal Ministry of Finance headquarters in Abuja.
It is this little thing that
67-year-old Philomena Ijoma is among the elderly retirees demanding immediate payment of their 35-month pension arrears.
They should give us our entitlement. Many of us are dying, but we will not die. They must give me our money. If they hold our money, they will die before me. They should release our money. Let us use it and feed ourselves.
They say that despite the federal government's approval of a 32,000 naira pension increase, many of them are yet to receive the payment.
Our arrears, they no pay. They say they will pay us in bond, they no pay. They force us come out for night. They sell all our property, all tower where night, all the exchange, they sell them. CC, they no pay us. Na Buhari help us connect us with the pension. The pension come out area, they no come pay.
They also allege that the next of kin of pensioners who have died are still being denied their entitlement.
Our NOKs, that's the next of kings that lost of their breadwinners, they are yet to settle any of them. Because we are not just talking for those of us, we have people that have lost their fathers, the widows, they can't even feed, not one food per day.
Insisting that they will not back down until all outstanding arrears are paid, the pensioners are urging the federal government to take urgent action. In Abuja for News Central, I am Joshua Imarai.
Away from that, now there's a bill that's seeking to amend Nigeria's 1999 constitution by reducing the age qualification for aspirants vying for the positions of state governors and senators from 35 years to 30 years. Now, this has now passed the second reading in the House of Representatives. The proposal was sponsored by Isen Etim and 24 other lawmakers, received massive support from lawmakers through a voice vote, with members of parliament insisting that the existing age requirement limits capability and qualified young Nigerians from contesting for top elected positions.
If a member of this House at 25 years spends 2 terms in the House of Representatives, he will be 33 years and he will still not be qualified to go to the Senate or to become a governor. So I think that this Honorable House should look into it, and we maintain the gap between the office of the governor and senate, as it were, and that of the House at the 5 years that it has always been. So this bill is seeking to reduce the age from 35 to 30 for the office of the governor and membership of the senate, as it were, Your Excellency.
The support of this bill be read the second time, say aye. Aye. Those against you say nay. The ayes have it.
We're done with the first half of the breakfast central. What should, you know, you're confusing me. Like, I'm not even sure if it's breakfast.
We're done with the first hour. Look, my H factor came out. Yeah. We're done with the first hour of what is a bumper breakfast show today. We keep it at breakfast. The breakfast show this morning. Unfortunately, it would have been center instead of extra, but we have the duo. Tag team. There we go. One from the weekend and one from the weekday. Well, but first, let's give you a recap of all that we've discussed right here in the first hour of the show.
SERAP gives a CBN 7 days ultimatum to account for missing 3 trillion naira public funds.
And NITEL and TEL pensioners storm Federal Ministry of Finance headquarters over unpaid arrears.
Lawmakers consider bill seeking age reduction for governorship aspirants. And let's bring you what's coming up next on Breakfast Central. Crisis rocks PDP secretariat as Turaki Wike factions battle for control.
In the meantime, the Wike-led PDP faction has expelled the governor, Makinde, as well as Bode George and others from the party.
And the Nigerian Senate is calling for massive military recruitment. Do stay with us. Breakfast Central continues shortly. Welcome back to Breakfast Central, and we've re-established connection with the Deputy Director of SERAP, Kola Oluwadare, to speak about the missing 3 trillion naira funds. Kola, because of a lack of time and some principalities, I don't know, were against your network, so we'll just get straight to it. It's a double-barreled question. First is, what exactly did the Auditor General's report uncover that led to the discovery of this missing 3 trillion funds? And what happens after your 7-day notice to the Central Bank of Nigeria has expired?
Thank you very much, Benga. The Auditor General uncovered a total of 13 issues, out of which we have picked just 7 in this freedom of information request that we've sent to the Central Bank of Nigeria. And of those 7 issues, 2 I think is very important to highlight. 1 is what the Auditor General found, that the CBN did not remit over 1 trillion of the operating surplus for 2022 into the Consolidated Revenue Fund as provided by the Fiscal Responsibility Act. You would understand why that would be alarming. And then secondly, issue 3 is what the Auditor General of the Federation found, that the CBN for the year 2022 spent over 125 billion naira on what it termed intervention activities. And during the audit process, according to the Auditor General of the Federation, the CBN could not even provide documents, receipts, processes, invoices, and vouchers for these intervention processes. And the Auditor General was very clear in his recommendations that these funds should be recovered and remitted to the public treasury. And as the second part of your question, what comes next? The Freedom of Information Act mandates public institutions, including the CBN, to respond to such queries that SERAP has sent forth within 7 days. And if that is not done, the same act permits SERAP and other Nigerians to go to court to compel the CBN to provide answers to these accountability questions. And that is what is likely going to happen.
Now, very quickly before I let you go, now these discrepancies were noted in 2022. And we just have to put this forward that, you know, the governor of the CBN at the time is now under investigation and I think in custody as well. And so what does this mean in terms of transition and transparency? Are you going to say that the CBN governor, the current CBN governor, can be held culpable for this missing 3 trillion naira? Or what then would he be looking like?
Well, thank you very much. We're talking about the CBN as an institution, not necessarily those at the helm of affairs. Of course, governance, as we know, is a continuum. So this current administration also holds the responsibility to provide answers, and if at all, to aid the law enforcement agencies to uncover how these monies have been spent, and most importantly, to recover those funds. So at the least, this should form part of the corpus of evidence to ensure that the former CBN governor is accountable for what has gone on. And that is why this current administration, I mean the CBN administration, should at the least be able to also provide answers to these questions posed by the Auditor General, being enhanced and echoed, of course, by SERAP.
Very important questions begging for answers, and we'll continue to monitor the situation. Thank you so much, Kolawole Oluwadare, Deputy Director at SERAP, for joining us on Breakfast Central this morning. Do appreciate your time and insight.
Thank you very much.
Moving on to other matters, dramatic and chaotic scenes. No, not, I'll take that again. Dramatic and chaotic scenes unfolded yesterday at the National Secretariat of the opposition People's Democratic Party, popularly known as Wadata Plaza, as rival party camps squared off in an attempt to gain access to the party's headquarters, known as Wadata Plaza in Abuja. What was meant to be a routine political engagement at the People's Democratic Party National Secretariat in Abuja on Tuesday quickly descended into one of the most emotionally charged confrontations the party has witnessed in years.
Now, the rival factions refused to give ground as police fired repeated rounds of tear gas, sending governors, party officials, staff, and journalists scrambling in confusion.
Right now, we are live.
What we're doing today is to have a meeting to discuss the affairs of the party, and that's all we're doing. There is no convention. What you saw there was a pre-Christmas party. And of course, the governor of Fayose State also opened the motor park garage. You know, we invited party members to come and witness.
If anybody loses their life in this place, Makinde and Bala Muhammad should be held responsible. These people are violating court order.
It's a legal issue. You should report what is on the ground. It's a creation of one man called Wike, who thinks that he can continue to pollute the political space by showing gangarism, animism, and hooliganism and charlatanism. And by so doing, he is not helping even the present administration. What is causing all this? We should go by the rule. Arrogance and impunity. You see, we were going, the access to go, they will go, but the police are sneaking people in. This is our secretariat. If they want to say they have a so-called faction, they should go somewhere. All the governors are here. All the senators, all the members of the House of Reps. Why is the media backing them as if they have something in common with us? The police should know that this is not a faction. It is just a splinter group. They want to scuttle and destroy PDP, destroy the opposition.
I want to call on President Trump. What is at stake is not just genocide against Nigerian Christians. He should come and save democracy in Nigeria. Democracy is under threat. I'm calling on all other developed nations, all advanced democracies, come and save Nigeria, come and save democracy. Because I cannot understand how a serving minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria will be leading talks, armed talks, and then with the active connivance or support of the police to come and create mayhem here. I have said it, we are willing to lay down our lives to protect our office, to protect our democracy, to protect our mandate. So Nigerians, you are watching what is happening. International community, you are seeing the threat that Nigerian democracy is. Come and save us.
The Minister Nelson Muke is the one who is in the SUV, and Governor Bala Mohammed is right.
And now, with all that's unfolded, you just watched all that clip there. So just start with the first part of this discussion, right, and go in depth. And to do that is the newly elected National Publicity Secretary of the PDP, and that's Comrade Ini Emeobong. He joins us live now. Comrade, a very good morning to you and welcome to the studio. Welcome to the program. Now, Comrade Emeobong is joining us live from Abuja studios. Now, Comrade, who conveyed the NEC meeting at the PDP National Secretariat in Wedata Plaza, and on what authority was that venue selected, given rival claims of NEC sessions elsewhere?
All right, so the National Executive Committee of our party can only be summoned by a notice jointly signed by the chairman and secretary, inviting INEC as an observer. And it stipulates the number of people who are there: governors, former governors, members of the NWC, spread all across. And therefore, as at yesterday, the only person who had the moral and legal authority to convene a NEC meeting was and remains Kabiru Tanimu Turaki. So that wasn't so. But we had hints that Samuel Anyanwu, the expelled former national secretary of our party, had issued an illegal notice purporting to attempt to call a meeting there. But incidentally, that coincided with the period we're going for the inaugural meeting of our executive. And we went to the Commissioner of Police, had a meeting with him, laid out our plans that we are going to that national secretariat because we just came straight from Ibadan and we needed to have a day for other people to join. Then we were going there on Tuesday, and we informed him. We went to the Commissioner of Police and mentioned to him that we're going there and that we're aware of this notice and we are peace-loving people. But the next morning we saw on the social media Sam Anyanwu saying that they had invited the police to help deal with intruders. And by the time we arrived there, with the national chairman, members of the NWC, members of the National Assembly, and supporters who came to witness, and governors who came to witness the event, they were tear-gassed. They were prevented from entry and tear-gassed at the gate. And that led to stampede with people sustaining different degrees of injury. Serious tear gas were fired at everyone. That's what happened yesterday. So what ordinarily would have been the inaugural meeting of the party became something very, very, very shameful. And now the office of the secretary, for example, under our constitution, the exercise of that office, assuming but not considering that Anyanwu says he's the secretary, assuming if he had not been suspended and expelled, assuming but not considering, you would know that by our constitution, the constitution says that he would exercise the duties of the office in consultation with the national chairman. And he and Abdurrahman wrote to INEC on the 6th of November. INEC wrote back to them, informing them that they were not recognized. So yesterday was an illegal attempt to continue the series of illegality that they had been undertaking in a bid to stifle democracy, to help railroad a one-party system. That's what happened yesterday.
Now, well, we're going to go on a short break. Just very quickly, we need you to just hold off for us. Let's go on a short break. And when we return, we're going to be talking about, the reports about the parallel NEC meetings, as well as Board of Trustee meetings at the Secretariat. But most importantly, the clash that occurred at the Secretariat. After the break, stay with us.
You're welcome back to Breakfast Central. Now, join us live for this important discussion on the events that happened at the PDP secretariat in Abuja. Yesterday, we had the newly elected National Publicity Secretary joining us live from our Abuja studios, Comrade Ini Ememopong. You're welcome. Thanks for staying with us. Now, your opening submission, you did mention that Kabiru Turaki is the legitimate national chairman of the party, having been elected at the Ibadan convention. Having said that and seen the pushback from the 11 members of the PDP that were expelled at the Ibadan convention, and the show of shame, literally tear gas, the madness we saw, for lack of a better word, in Abuja yesterday, where does that leave the PDP? What is next for the Turaki-led PDP? How do you take this, knowing that the expelled members are not, they've also gone ahead to expel some of your own members. So where does that leave us? Are you going to seek legal redress to address this situation?
Well, there are circumstances where you do know that people lack the capacity to do what they claim they are doing, and the people themselves know. There is an adage that says that in court, both parties do know what the truth is, that is the judge that is on trial. So both of us do know what the truth is. Both of us do know that the National Executive Committee, assuming but not considering that even a full National Executive Committee could have been convened and convoked, that the National Executive Committee, by our Constitution, cannot undertake disciplinary actions. They can only make rules for disciplinary action. That the only body that has the capacity to expel members is the National Convention. They know that. So it's placing something on nothing and expecting it to stand. It can't stand. It's a time-tested, efficacious, literary legal maxim that you cannot put something on nothing and expect it to stand. The subsequent expulsion, the purported expulsion of the people they said, is on nothing, absolutely nothing. Incidentally, it's coming at a point where the INEC, the supervisory body, is even telling them that we don't know you. Now, so going back to the convention, Anyanwu and Damagum signed a notice of convention and compulsorily, within the time frame of the law, served INEC that notice, informing them of Ibadan. Thereafter, he was part of the planning, the inauguration, the processes that led to the National Convention Organizing Committee, for Ibadan. Midway, maybe an afterthought, maybe a discovery that the generality of the people are not in sync with what you're doing, because it is clear that the whole essence of this is to weaken the PDP so that it does not have the capacity to provide viral opposition. So as an opposition party, look around and ask whenever they have spoken against the government, and the litany of things happening, including the security issues that happened recently. Is it the one in Kebbi? Is it the one where Major General has been killed? They are more interested in destroying. The guns are facing inwards. They are more interested in destroying the people who are trying to offer a viral opposition upon which democracy rests, which is why we are saying that it is not a threat only to PDP, it's a threat to democracy. And so the truth of the matter is that you cannot put, it's an after the fact matter. You cannot put something on nothing and expect it to stand. They were expelled by a properly constituted convention. If they have issues with that, then they are in court. All of us are in the Court of Appeal on the matter that would determine whether the convention was legally constituted or not. So the attempt to take laws into their own hands and convene events and meetings that they are not legally empowered to do so is not just provocative, but it is intentionally intended to create crisis and cripple the main opposition, like they've done to other opposition parties. And clearly, like the chairman has said, we are willing to resist, we are willing to fight this to any extent to ensure that democracy survives. Electoral democracy stands on pillars, one of which is the sanctity of the ballot, a viral opposition. And they cannot, Clearly, their leader says he's supporting the president for 2027. The constitution upon which Anyanwu swore on his inauguration says that PDP will file candidates in all the elections. So how do you reconcile those two positions? And so the intent is clear. The intent is clear. And therefore, both the intent and the action are in sync. The mainstream and the actors will both have a consensus. And we can assure them. Which is why you heard the chairman asking that the international community should intervene. And so when people ask, I say, yes, democracy was sold to Nigeria like it was sold to other parts of the world. We had a different governance system. It was sold to us on the promise that better human rights, better economy, and things will happen within a democracy. And who are those who sold democracy to us? It was America, it was the European Union, it was the UK. And so they sold it to us. So if that democracy is under threat, and if you check, our neighbors, most of our neighbors now are governed not by democracy. And if ours is under threat, do you know what would happen if democracy is under threat in Nigeria? Not just to the sub-region, not just to Africa, but to the entire world. Do you know how many Nigerians will be seeking asylum everywhere? And you're trying to threaten the fabric that holds the country. The worst democracy is better than the best of any other governance. And that is why we are insisting that this democracy must survive. And democracy must survive on the terms that are laid out. A viral democracy, elections must not just be uneventful events. Elections must have a critical element, which is institutionalized uncertainty. What happens when an election is 6 months ahead and everyone knows, oh, this person would win? That is not an election, it's just an event. So these are the things we are fighting against. We are fighting against electoral authoritarianism, where people want to sit and donate the candidates to different parties, and so railroads the government in power back to stage. And so that is where we are at the moment. And we do know that all of these are distractions to prevent us from providing a viral opposition. But we can assure government, while we are handling them, we'll be handling government too.
I'm yet to see a statement from the PDP regarding what's unfolded both from yesterday and the day before regarding the abduction of the Kebbi girls. But there are two things here I want you to react to. First, the allegations of Sam Anyanwu claiming that his signature was sent to INEC before the convention was forged. Before the convention, it was forged and was sent to INEC, and it wasn't his signature. The second is the fallout that happened yesterday at the secretariat, and what this means for the different state or sub-states for the PDP. As we're going into 2027, there's Rivers State, which of course haven't shown, they've very clearly showed that they're aligned with Wike. And we've also seen the Governors Forum as well, Mufwang just being on the sidelines and asking for peace. And so one has to ask, as we're going into 2027, the federal caucuses within the PDP, what would be the practical step for the PDP within the PDP's Governor Forum to sort of cohesive unity? Because you're losing sides. You know, there's defections, there are those who haven't clearly stated where their loyalty lies. What does this mean going into 2027?
Okay, first let me go back to the issue of the statements. We have issued statements on the abduction of the girls in Manga. We've issued very strong statements, and the days ahead we'll continue to drive that down. We demand that those girls be brought back, and we demand that the president, in fact, yesterday when we saw the number of policemen that were deployed to our party secretariat, we are suggesting to the president to add those policemen to the soldiers who are fighting in the theater of war, to add them there to go and help, because they were very energetic with the tear gassing. If they were tear gassing bandits like that, I'm sure that those girls would have been back. So we've issued a statement asking the president that the primary function of every government is the protection of lives and property. And whenever and wherever that is not satisfied, that president in the first instance must accept responsibility instead of playing ostrich. And where consistently he's unable to do, he should do the honorable thing of resigning. And remember that this president, remember the role of this president during the Chibok girls. And today he is faced with that opportunity to show Nigerians what he would have done with the Chibok girls. MAGA is a case on his laps. We are inviting Mr. President to do the utmost to ensure that our girls are brought back and safe. We do know what your position then was, and we're asking do that exact thing. The prescription that you gave at that time should still be valid at this time. So we're asking Mr. President to do that. Now, going to the issue of unity and cohesion. In every democracy, whether it is internal within the party or inter-party, the operative rule is that majority will have their way, but minority would have their say. And you do know that the situation that we have at hand is a circumstance where a lot of people have been coerced into defection. And when you see them sit on TV to speak, they say different things. They say, oh, our party has problems. But when you meet them privately, they tell you, look, these people, the elections are already over. And so, with that, when people are newly-livered, you've heard Governor Dauda say that, look, I have been threatened, but I don't care. I will stay with PDP and I will go for elections. How many people would have that kind of mindset? So within the party, we have unity of purpose. And again, when issues of politics are involved, it is per time and per issue. So I and you could agree on one issue relating to the camera I'm looking at, but on the issue of the microphone that we'll be talking, and you could have another. But now the truth is, immediately we are more than two and we get into three, majority would have their way, but minority will have their say. So for example, Governor Finchu was the chairman of the convention. He did excellently well from the first day he was inaugurated up until the convention. Excellently well, sacrificed, meetings, did everything, meetings to reach consensus. But on that day, he disagreed with one item, which was the expulsion. But that is where true democracy is. And that shows even the humility of the governor to accept that, look, I do not agree, and I've made my position clear, that I do not agree with this particular decision. That does not invalidate the decision. Despite the fact that it's a quality disagreement, but quantitatively, which is what democracy uses to judge, quantitatively, the decision was taken, the motion was taken and carried in convention. So, does that pit us against each other? No. The national chairman of the party is in talks with Governor Finchu and the rest. They have objections as to items. There were more than 5 motions that were taken that day. And you can imagine that maybe some people were not happy with some other motions, but majority would always have their way. But we are a party where at least the minority can have their say. And we can say today in Nigeria, we are the only political party where that can happen. You can't try that even in the ruling party. Would a minority have its say even in what they don't agree? No, they will have to keep quiet. But here, the majority will have their way, but would ensure the protection of the voice of the minority, that they can have their say. So the gentlemen, the governor of Plateau, governor of Adamawa, are excellent gentlemen and party people who have contributed in no small measure to the success of that convention. And they came there themselves. And they also have a right to say, I am not aligned with this decision.
But did that play out as during the convention? But unfortunately, we do have to go on a short break. But when you come back, I do have to ask whether this fair hearing that you're speaking of, majority and minority, whether it played out. They had their say, at the convention or even yesterday. But let's go on that short break. When we return, we'll get in depth into the discussion. After the break, stay with us. And welcome back. We have been discussing the chaos that played out yesterday at the Wadata Plaza at the PDP secretariat. Joining us is Comrade Ini Ememobong, who is the National Publicity Secretary for the PDP. We've been talking about pretty much the convention, the Board of Trustee meetings, and all that ensued yesterday at the secretariat. But before we let you go, you were talking about how other governors and other minorities and majority have a fair say and they can speak their piece on this matter. But given all that unfolded yesterday and given the push from factions, whether Wike or Turaki factions, one has to ask whether there would be an avenue or a platform for that fair hearing that you speak of.
The concept of majority and minority is the protection of minority voices. And now, so talking about fair hearing, remember that the people, most of the people who were expelled at the convention were suspended and referred to a disciplinary committee. The position of the law is that you give room for fair hearing, but if the person whom room has been given to partake in fair hearing, to exercise that right, abdicates that right. There's absolutely nothing. The person forecloses himself from because you can't compel attendance for hearing. And so clearly the opportunity for fair hearing was set by the last administration, but obviously the people didn't take it. In fact, rather than take it, they took to television to double down on threats and to undertake activities capable of derailing the party. More than anything, one of the key principles that we uphold in the PDP is that there is an internal mechanism for the resolution of conflict. And parties, people within the party are encouraged to explore these means before you go to court. So these means of internal discussions and negotiations must break down first. But you would see in the circumstances the negation, abdication of this principle, and people just hurry to court, all in a bid to stampede the party. And you can't do that. So people will expel. And speaking about that, all of us are in the Court of Appeal. And the matter will end in the Supreme Court. The judgment of the Supreme Court will determine, the outcome of the convention. One, was legal notice given? Was it given within time? So, having done so, because when you look at the processes that led to it, notices were given, activities, and they were part of the activities leading to, and only to turn around and plead non-ex facto. You're talking about your signature, and he wrote to security officials, he wrote to what has been the outcome of that. So the issue of signing or not signing is a matter of fact which he needs to prove, and he who alleges must prove. So he knows what to do about that. He's taken steps about it, and I don't know how far that has gone. But the truth at this moment is that on 10th of November, INEC has written back to him, and they've concealed the letter. But unfortunately, it's a public document which is out that we can't recognize. We don't know who you call chairman. So how was Anyanwu suspended? 14 members of the National Working Committee sat, and the Constitution makes the chairman of the party the chief executive. In fact, gives him wide powers to assign roles to people. So like I'm publicity secretary now, the current chairman of the party, Turaki SAN, can assign my role to another, and by that constitution is very valid. And insist that the secretary shall, though being the chief administrative officer, shall exercise the functions of his office in consultation, that is subjugative, in consultation with the national chairman. And so a meeting was convened, and 14 out of 18 suspended the people. And they now convene a meeting of suspended people to, again, suspend. I don't get that. I mean, so the intent is clear: to derail the party, frustrate democracy, and hand an easy victory to the ruling party. So our own intent is clear. We will protect democracy, and we will provide a viral opposition, both in politics and policy, to the ruling party.
Only time will tell whether or not Wike and his led faction will make that possible, and whether the courts will be in the way of that unity. But thank you, Comrade.
Thank you so much for your time, Comrade Ememabong. And like Judith said, when the Court of Appeal decides, we'll know which way to go. Thank you for your time. Yeah. The Nigerian Senate is demanding the recruitment of 100,000 additional military personnel to confront rising insecurity across the country. This follows last week's shocking attacks in Kebbi South, where armed men invaded a girls' secondary school, abducted 25 students, and left the school principal critically injured. Sponsor of the motion, Senator Abdullahi Yahya, described the incident as a deliberate assault on national security and called for stronger military presence across vulnerable communities. News Central's Sagir Ibrahim brings us details of Wednesday's heated deliberations.
It was a tense start to plenary as lawmakers debated the recent abduction in Kebbi, which they say further exposes the fragility of school security nationwide. Presenting the motion, Senator Abdullahi Yahya warned that the scale of attacks on schools demands an urgent expansion of the armed forces to restore public confidence.
This kind of terrorization of our students, our children, must stop.
One after the other, lawmakers expressed outrage, questioning how funds allocated for securing schools continue to fall short of expected impact.
We must de-emphasize the issues of religion and ethnicity while dealing with matters of insecurity. I believe that with a lot of money, funds, and resources going into our armed forces, we should be asking for better outcomes.
We have to ask the military. We give them the support they need. Let us ask them whether they can win this war. I believe that the security agencies should deploy technology. Even from far places, you can locate these children where they are.
Every year, our population is growing at 3%, and therefore our armed forces numbers should increase in addition to the deployment of appropriate tracking technology.
Imagine if any one of us has a daughter now in captivity in Kebbi. Will you be sleeping?
The Senate must wade into this matter very effectively and very determined to make a difference.
Presiding over the session, President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, condemned the resurgence of school abductions, recalling the Chibok tragedy and warning that Nigeria's security posture is once again under global scrutiny.
We urge the armed forces across the board, including individuals who may have information, to assist to do everything to bring those children back.
The Senate then observed a minute of silence in honor of the Vice Principal, who was killed while attempting to protect students during the attack. From the National Assembly, Abuja, for News Central, Sagir Ibrahim.
Interesting deliberations there from the members of the Senate calling for additional 100,000 Nigerians to be recruited into the Nigerian Armed Forces. We've gone on a quick break, and when we come back, we have so much more in store for you today on Breakfast Central. Stay with us. You're welcome back to Breakfast Central. As Judith and I said earlier when we opened the show today, we have quite a lot in store for you today. And join us for the second part of the conversation on the PDP convention in Ibadan, and also the scuffle and the crisis in the PDP, especially what happened at the secretariat yesterday, is the convener of the alternative movement, Otumba Shegun, who is a long-term PDP member. A warm welcome to you, Otumba Shegun. First of all, I would like to start off with your reaction and your assessment of the events that played out yesterday at Wadata Plaza, Abuja. Whose fault is it, and could this situation have been avoided?
Embarrassing is to put it mildly, disgraceful is the proper word. There is a certain struggle for control of a political party that comes with an assumption that once you become the candidate of that party, you will automatically become more than likely the candidate that will win. That type of misbehavior and arrogance is usually reserved for the ruling party, because all of the extra support that can make the life of a candidate easy is always available with them. When a political party has been in opposition, lost 3 elections back to back, I suppose that a little bit more soberness is expected of how they view issues. Could yesterday have been avoided? Maybe it could have been delayed, especially when they have made up their mind that everybody is going to be interpreting court orders in their own private and selfish and self-serving manner. Before we got to the convention in Ibadan, we had 2 judgments saying don't go, and one that said, albeit belatedly, that they should go. You would have expected that they would tidy up the issues in that court cases and probably do the Court of Appeal, or follow the wise counsel and set up a caretaker committee to get us the proper escrow, camp free now, agree the basis by which they're going to do a convention.
People don't go to convention divided. They go to convention either to go and contest or to go and affirm in a consensus manner. Before you can do a consensus in a convention, you would have followed the minimum modicum, or benchmark of transparency and fairness. You can't withhold forms, keep them to yourself, do the zoning all by yourself, pretend as if you have control of the entire play, refuse to sell form to those who will be willing and interested in buying, pretend as if Justice Omotosho did not give very clear judgment and others, pretend as if Justice Lifu did not give clear judgment and others, run on a forum shopping spree in Oyo where maybe you have a bit of influence, get an expert to tell you that you can continue, proceed to the place without being able to carry all your governors along, determine an agenda that all of them did not buy in, embark on a vindictive suspension, expulsion of some of the people you don't like, without getting all of the others to buy into the idea. And then, of course, all hell went loose because those were then retaliated by summarily and actively suspending equal number. So when you ask me, why did they choose to go and have their meetings on the same day? If we have now gotten to the point where we now have PDP A and PDP B, that may be where we are now. But to now attempt to have a meeting in the same location is childish, is disgraceful, and I think the federal government of Nigeria is very weak. They should have prevented them completely from even embarrassing themselves and embarrassing the country, and they should have ensured that that venue was locked down, shut down, closed down, and not allowed to have access. We will not say because we are running democracy, we're going to add to the misery that is in the country. As at now, we're still mourning the loss of a general because of insurgency and Boko Haram. We're mourning the loss of girls from Kebbi who have just been kidnapped, and we don't even have a solution yet. We're mourning the vice president that died. We have a myriad of other issues that are far more serious than the kindergarten and excessive play of a political party in opposition that does not seem to understand that you have to accommodate yourselves to be able to give a good account of yourself.
Mr. Showemi, first of all, let me just, you said something which is quite interesting. You said the federal government should at least shut down that place, and it makes me wonder whether or not a federal government has any jurisdiction over a political party's internal affairs. Let's start there. That's just one for you to munch on. But the other is, the fact that these factions have now, the party is now split into two. If one had told me a week ago, if any person had said a week ago that we would see factions within the PDP and it will follow the fate of Labour Party, I most likely would have said maybe, maybe not. But to see this display is quite interesting, that the PDP can also fall to the fate of the inevitable. And so one has to ask at this point, what would then be a way forward? In terms of, Wike has really carried out anti-party activities. And whether one faction is expelling the other faction and this faction is expelling the other faction, one thing is clear, 2027 is around the corner. So should they be on the road to restoration and rebuilding? And what would that road look like? What would be the guardrails? Are they capable of rebuilding and reuniting?
First of all, the assumption that internal affairs of political party are a blank check for crisis and riots and chaos is totally incorrect. When you have court cases that have taken final decisions, those judgments will not implement themselves. It is the duty of the executive to interpret and, after getting all the advice, carry out what the functions of that judgment will be. And that will not be a first time. Sometimes in the build-up to 2019, I think, before 2017, we had gone to River State, Port Harcourt to have a convention. The court order came saying we should stop it, and it was halted. And the heavens did not fall. The second one happened, the court said we should stop it, it was halted. One of the things that Nigerians don't seem to understand is that once a court has given judgment, the responsibility of enforcing it is not with the court anymore. That's why you have the executive who must execute that judgment. Imagine if yesterday they had killed themselves. Imagine if you didn't have enough police to, however untidy it looks, to manage situation. Imagine when you see governors championing the cause of thugs and giving hand control and hand signal to talk, to go in and beat their former comrades who have issues with them now. You have to say that somebody has to say enough now. It's on somebody's table that the buck ends. I know that the reason why they did not interfere with them is because of this, blackmailing possibility of people saying, oh, they are interfering with democracy, they are not allowing democracy to. Democracy is not chaos. It can be noisy, but it's not chaos. That's that. In terms of whether we can pull ourselves out of this, I've always repeated over and over and over. One of the major problems we have with trying to solve this problem is dishonesty. Everybody likes to say his side is right, and that his own side is exclusively so right to the detriment of whatever the other person is saying. One of the things you will learn in conflict resolution is that you must have the ability to understand what the other guy is saying, to listen to what the other guy is saying, and to make accommodations where need be. Yes, we may have had an exaggerated conversation of everybody blaming one man for everything, but I'll ask you, did we start this process yesterday? This process started in the build-up to 2019, and of course, you can situate where the players were then. If the party managers at that time were clever enough not to implode and inflame the nerves by not expelling them, some of them serving governors now, some of them former governors, and just try to manage it, I wonder why those who did that party yesterday are now crying more than the Pope and being too sanctimonious that they want to start punishing people. And if you must punish people, I'm not saying don't punish them. You went into that convention with Fintiri, you went into that convention with the man from Plateau, you went into that convention with yourselves. How is it that 5 of you cannot even agree what the decision is? How come the decision you say you have taken, other people are saying, no, we don't agree to this? So therefore means that the chairman of the PDP Governors Forum obviously has shacked his responsibility and has shown that he does not have what it takes to be able to manage people. We've been in opposition for some time, and we've had people manage Governors Forum, albeit I've always said there is no legal position for Governors Forum in the Constitution. It's part of that creation of this republic that started in 1999, which for what we are seeing now, we need to stop it and end it immediately. And I will advise our rivals, especially the ruling party, this business of saying governors are the leaders of the party is going to bring you exactly the same result that you are getting in PDP. Don't hold your breath. People don't have the ability to be decent when you give them power. Too much excessive power, absolute power corrupts absolutely. Governors are made by the party, are given platform by the party. They don't own the party. They can't boss the party, especially when there are substantive judgments that say don't do this. You can't overreach yourself and expect people to not react. You were the one who went on expelling people. Are you surprised they expelled them back?
Right,
they were the ones that went on suspending people. Are they surprised that they suspend them back? If everybody is trying to be nasty, the best option will be calm down, relax, and let's figure out the way out of this mess.
Mr. Showmi, it's very interesting that your subliminals are to the former members of the G5. But most importantly, I fear it's to Governor Seyi Makinde, since you're not naming names. I would like you to name names, but Benga has a question for you first.
Yes, Otumba Showmi, looking at what happened yesterday, and it seems in the first, looking at Nigeria's political history in the recent past, when you're not, well, when there's a disagreement, there's a tendency to just be dismissive and say, go to court. But these days it has changed. Go to court is not in the forefront of the political lexicon anymore. These days, what they say is invoke the name of Donald Trump. The newly elected chairman of the People's Democratic Party at the Ibadan Convention did call on President Trump to intervene in the crisis in the PDP and also save Nigeria's democracy. And also this morning, we had the pleasure of speaking with the newly elected Publicity Secretary, Comrade Ini Mabong. He also doubled down on that and said, this Western nation sold us the idea of democracy. So it's sort of their responsibility to see that democracy thrives and survives in Nigeria. What do you make of this invocation of President Trump's name ever since he designated Nigeria as a country of particular concern. Does he mean we're incapable of solving our own internal problems as a people?
Let me be very clear. Whatever it is that took place in Ibadan is going to be tested in the courts. I have very strong suspicion that the combined interpretation of Justice Omotosho and Justice Lifu is going to say they only went there to have a party of their own, and whatever it is that they built, they'll be building something or nothing, and it may not stand. So be careful how you call them chairman and whatever title they have imposed on themselves. Exactly. The monk, the garment does not make the monk. You are putting, let us summarily, in the meantime accept that you have given him a big title. If you understood the responsibility on top of his shoulders, he will not even be doing what is absolutely subversive and a slight tilting towards felony. No serious leader of a nation will stand in front of his television and be calling external people to come and interfere in the internal affairs of democracy in the country. People ask for support for training. People don't try to insinuate that they are going to be so unpatriotic and crass in discipline to say that the President of America should come and start helping them to sort out the larceny that they created for themselves, which if only they had been a little bit fair, a little bit truthful, a little bit respectful of court order, a little bit accommodating of give and take, a little bit honest, they would have avoided. So I think it's an irresponsible comment and it should be expunged. I think that yes, the President of America has offered some comments concerning insurgency. That's a very serious matter, and I think that should be left in that direction. You can't be inviting Donald Trump to come and help you solve your family quarrel. You can't call him to come and help you cook the food or taste the food in your country. That's not how nations are run. And to imagine that someone prides himself on being a son at that the next thing he can see to say when they have gotten themselves into an Armageddon is to be inviting the president of another country, tells you the kind of material they are made from. That's irresponsible. It's a sorry comment, and I apologize because obviously I'm a member of the party and I don't think that is how we want to be represented.
Right.
This has nothing to do with Donald Trump. This has nothing to do even with the governor of the president of Ghana. It doesn't even have much to do with other citizens, free-loving, patriotic Nigerians. It has to do with the PDP. I also want to put it on record clearly. No one should be deceived that if PDP does not solve its own internal problem, the democracy is weakened. There are more political parties in the country. From the kinds of optics we are seeing, the ADC is there. There is AAC. There is Labour Party. There are other parties in Nigeria. The political parties in Nigeria are not true. And parties, nations go through cycle. Maybe the PDP is now going to stay in the ditch for a long time. And if they're careful, they will be able to resurrect. And if they're not careful, they will become a platform of body. Let me repeat that. The People's Democratic Party of Nigeria may become a platform of body to those who want to contest the election, because you can't take the risk that you get to the final date and they'll tell you you built something or nothing. Who's going to sign the form? Who's going to sign the form?
Otumba, I fear that even though you call yourself a bona fide member of the PDP, you sound somewhat dismissive about it, and even giving it this tag of a party of label, or I mean the tag you've labeled the party as. But then one has to look at the PDP in its entirety and the members and what unfolded yesterday. You tagged it as a display of disgrace. It was disgraceful, and you didn't mince words. And so we also have to look at who is the minister of the FCT, okay? And the show of brute force that unfolded yesterday, from tear gas being dispersed, party goers, people at this point, glasses broken into gates, security against security. I've never seen this type of show of force before. And so at the Capitol then, should the FCT minister have put out a statement about that? And can we say the FCT minister is culpable as well to all that we've seen yesterday?
You see, look. I say that when it comes to Wike, the FCT minister, former governor of Rivers State, it seems like a lot of people in the country have made up their mind that they will never have a second look at things. If he had, using his responsibility as the chief secretary officer of Abuja, conduct of the place, prevented the people from gathering to avoid what was mostly going to happen that could be predictable, they would have said, Wike, stop them. If he provided security so that when they start to fight, they can separate themselves, they will say, Wike caused it. If they bring thugs there, why would you think Wike will be the one to bring the thugs? There are two factions here. There's one being led by the national secretary, and there's one being led by you-know-who. What are governors of the party? Look. I will not join a gang of people that calls a dog a bad name to hang it. We can have issues on style, on language, on other things, but we cannot insist that what we saw before our eyes, without a thorough investigative panel coming up with a report of who did what, when, and how, we will now say it's Wike. No, I won't be part of that. And that does not mean I'm exonerating him, but I'm saying that on the surface, you can't say that. You can't say that. And if you want to say it, okay, go ahead and say it, but I can't say that for you. And I'm not in any way pampering him or saying that, oh, no. You have to be sure. Look, if you have a court order from Omotosho, why wasn't it obeyed? If you had a court order from Lifu, why wasn't it obeyed? If you go and do a forum shopping in Ibadan, and you said you did some action, why did Fintiri step away from it? Why did Mufang step away from it? Are they not governors too? So how did you end up with that? So if you have that kind of challenge on your hand, you better stop blaming one individual, because you are making him responsible for things that he himself may just be reacting to. Those who started it know themselves. When you got back from Omotosho, why did it seem smart to you that the very next thing to do is to suspend the secretary, suspend the legal, suspend the organizing secretary? Who does that? It simply means that you don't want to obey court orders and you rather just go for self-help. If not for the police, which we must thank, FCT Command, thank you very much for helping me to spare them from killing themselves. What would have happened yesterday? What if they killed themselves? It's okay that they were dispersed. It's okay that it didn't look tidy, they scuffled a bit. What about if there was no police there and somebody had just killed the other? What would we say this morning? Imagine if all the other 19 or 18 political parties in Nigeria were displaying that kind of disgrace all over the place. How do you want the country to look? Yeah, I mean, we have enough problems on our hands. We don't need those kind of nonsense. I should call it what it is. This is unacceptable, period.
Otumba, I mean, it's the capital. We also saw what happened earlier this year when he shut down the secretariat, giving issues of land payment. But we're pressed for time and we do have to go. I must say thank you for taking out the time to join us this morning and just give us your own insight on the events that unfolded yesterday at the PDP secretariat. Otumba Oshowu,
thank you so much
thank
for
you
your time.
for joining us.
Alternative Movement. You're watching Breakfast Central. We'll go on a quick break, and when we return, we have more in store for you. Do stay with us. Welcome back to Breakfast Central. The national leadership of the Christian Association of Nigeria, CAN, has thrown its weight behind allegations of genocide against Christians in Nigeria. The claim was re-echoed by CAN during its fourth quarter National Executive Council meeting in Jos, the Plateau State capital. News Central's Chizoba Anyonwe tells us more.
This is a gathering of Christian leaders in the north-central states of Plateau. The leader of the delegation, Archbishop Daniel Oko, says their visit to the state is intentional, purposeful, and deeply symbolic. Many of the leaders here say they throw their weight behind the allegations of genocide being perpetrated against Nigeria's Christian communities. They also condoled with the government and the people of the state over the recurrent attacks that have claimed many lives and property in the state.
Our Our presence in church today is not accidental. It is intentional, purposeful, and deeply symbolic. Khan has spoken clearly in the past, and we have courageously spoken on this matter. And we stand unwaveringly by our position that there is Christian genocide in Nigeria.
Governor Caleb Mutfwang, represented by his deputy, Josephine Pio, expressed optimism that deliberations at the meeting will impact the growth of Plateau State and Nigeria at large.
As we deliberate over the next session, I urge you to reflect deeply on how the church can continue to be a light, shaping national discourse, strengthening moral values, and fostering unity among our people. Nigeria needs the church now more than ever.
Some other members of the clergy had contributions on the way forward for a safer society.
Let's not allow political position or political silver and gold to change the tone of our stand. We are the church and we are not the Islamic body. God bless you.
What will our future generation look like in Nigeria? If we don't speak now, are we handing over our children to the terrorists to control them? Our grandchildren? By keeping silence in a time like this, whether we like it or not, none of us will escape this question from God Almighty. Where is your brother?
For many in attendance, it is hoped that the meeting will deliberate on issues of national integration and cohesion for a better Nigeria. In Plateau State, for News Central, Chizoba Anyuri.
Now, joining us this morning to discuss this development further is public affairs analyst Sheson Kwade, who's right here in our Lagos studio. These days we have to distinguish which studio, you know, we're
and we
expanding
love that.
horizon. We also have all the way from Texas in the United States, a global affairs analyst, a good friend of the house, who we keep up at late nights like this. We do appreciate the sacrifice. Ejike Opa joins us from Texas. And also a CAN member who was present at the meeting yesterday in Jos, Reverend Gideon Paramalam. A warm welcome to all of you, gentlemen, and thanks for joining us on Breakfast Central. I'd like to start with Reverend Gideon Paramalam. During the meeting in Jos, the CAN president, Archbishop Oko, reaffirmed that the violence against Christians is repeated, coordinated, and clearly targeted, calling it a genocide. What do you make of this claims, and could you tell us about the deliberations at the meeting yesterday?
Yeah, thank you very much for this opportunity, and I must commend News Central for spotlighting some of the issues that came out yesterday from the National Executive Council meeting of CAN. Let me say that CAN is merely stating the position of millions of Christians in Nigeria. We're talking about half the population of the country. So it's not just CAN speaking. CAN is echoing the voice of those millions of Christians, that indeed Christians are targeted in a sustained genocidal killings that has been going on for decades. And the idea of the meeting yesterday was not just to highlight the killings, it's a fact, it's a truth. And what CAN is trying to appeal is for the government to act with a political will consistently to end the killings. These killings have got to end. it's simply unsustainable to continue with the killings. So yesterday, the echo was on that. End the killings. That's all we're asking for. That is the appeal.
Now, let me turn to Ejike, Mr. Ejike Okpa. You are in the U.S., right? And you have watched how this, how this is played out. Now, seeing the United Front that CAN has put up, and also their statements now labeling this truly as a genocide, would this propel the U.S. to take further action? And what does this mean for its Nigeria's counterpart and its response so far to these allegations and issues?
Thank you for having me, and good morning to you guys. Look, the question is, I think, with the use of the word genocide, I don't know whether that is what is triggering everybody excitement or irritation, but since Nigerians found themselves, let's go back to the 80s where Shagari was there have been killings of Christians. But what has happened in 40-something years of this going on, every subsequent administration has come in and tried to sugarcoat the issue and say this doesn't go on. But the question again is there any law in Nigeria that tries to address the issue of ethnic? When people kill you because of your religious belief or because of your tribal identity, I don't think Nigeria legislation or even whether during the military rule or civilian will have come to terms to pass a law that said you cannot kill anybody because you don't like their religion. But now that this has come to the fore and America is looking at it and is causing a whole lot of, public relations damage. Nigeria is already damaged, goodwill. And now they're not saying anything. Okay, let's go back to 1999 when this type of government is established in Nigeria. Buhari didn't say anything. Buhari, even at the time when Jonathan was there, was say, if I get into office, I'm going to, punch this. And then Tinubu is here. It's overwhelming Tinubu's administration. We don't have to use the word genocide. Nigerians don't like each other. There's a whole lot of intertribal and interreligious issues going on, but no law. The National Assembly has. In America, if there's going to be any at the time, because of racism, we passed a law that say, there's something like if you kill somebody because of their race, it's a federal crime, and the federal government needs to come after you and punish you to the extent. It's not going to eliminate, crime against people because of what somebody else is thinking, but at least it serves as a deterrent. The Nigerian law there is no deterrent law in Nigeria, and it's really, really a shame because you have, I think Nigeria is the largest, is the most populous black nation in the world with the most legally trained people. But what are the SANs saying? What is this so-called SAN, which again, excuse my French, I call them the senseless advocates of Nigeria, because this is where they should have risen to the occasion and they should have issued a statement or initiate some law condemning this stuff. Genocide means that, hundreds of millions of people killed. We don't have to wait for that to happen. It can be one. So Nigerians have to be serious about Nigerians killing each other because of religion or tribe. And it's really, really a shame because everybody's watching. I'm in Dallas, Texas. I get called everything. Edward, what do you think needs to happen? I say, I don't know. When Nigerians are in denial of what is happening to them, then how is anybody going to come in and say, okay, here's a solution? No society is perfect. In America, we have the phrase said, in pursuit of happiness. It's not guaranteed, but you are always in pursuit of it. Okay. So is Nigeria in pursuit of happiness for Nigerians to live and be comfortable in their own homeland? I don't think so.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ejike Okpa. Sheson, Ejike mentioned quite instructive things, talked about the value of the Nigerian life, and if there is a policy that also addresses killings, if you kill, what are the consequences for it? Let's look at the federal government's response so far. There's been sustained pressure. You would almost think this killing of Christians is happening in the United States. There's wall-to-wall coverage on the major news networks. Senators and members of Congress have been speaking about it. Just as we speak, tomorrow, the United States Congress is going to have hearing on this and listen to witnesses. It's been almost 2 to 3 weeks. Nigeria has not yet appointed an ambassador to the United States. The President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has not addressed the nation in this unprecedented times when the United States has threatened military action against Nigeria. And also, as we speak, the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, looking at the backdrop of what happened in the last 48 or 72 hours, the kidnappings in Kebbi, and also the killing of a Brigadier General, unprecedented in our history, is off to South Africa for the G20 meetings. And after that, it's going to stop by in Luanda, Angola for African Union Summit. So in all of this, are you satisfied with the government's response so far? And can they do better? Or are they even, is it priority for them?
Let me start from your last area of saying, are they doing better? You can do better if you initiate something good and you want to build on it. You see, this idea American is raising, calling it genocide. I love the position of AGK saying possibly the word, but it is what it is. The fact remains that if you understand what genocide means, it's just like an intentional act of attacking people deliberately. And not less than 24 hours, we heard about the attack that happened in Ilorin, Kwara State. We heard about that which happened, the kidnapping of the adoption of the kids in Kebbi. My position has always been, I don't like this idea of saying Christians, Muslims, because if you look at the school that actually happened in Kebbi, is a Muslim school.
Predominantly Muslim.
And my call is human beings are being killed, whether it's a Christian, a Muslim, is a northerner, is from the western side or the eastern path. The fact remains that what a lot of us have actually said about the government is what is working out, not only of this administration, of the past ones, of saying that there are no consequences for wrongdoing. As a matter of fact, we tend to celebrate and encourage that indisciplined act when people do it. And what do I mean by this? People submit their ammunitions, their weapon that they have used to kill, and own up that indeed we got involved in carrying out this act. And the next thing we do is to accommodate them, integrate them back into the system. What we are saying logically, if you ask me, is that other people can venture into it. Our hands are open to take you back after you have caused the havoc.
With zero consequences.
That's my own position, because a lot of people have said it, we are in democratic setting, we are in this. People that are killed by the sword should go by the sword. As soon as you are admitting the fact that you actually perpetrated this ill, do you know the demotivating factor that we give to the military? People that attack these people, see them being reintegrated back, kill their colleagues. We just heard about the killing of a brigadier. Somebody asked me yesterday on a particular station that what is the fate of civilians like you and I if a brigadier general trained to defend us and defend himself cannot actually defend and is actually being killed? It's a great indictment, and I'm actually waiting for the reaction of the military forces, because we can't continue with this. So the fact remains that we can't continue to go the route of reintegrating people who have actually, acknowledged the fact that they have committed this offense, while we keep those other people that have actually been dealt with in IDP, and we feel that they're having a fun-filled day.
Let me bring in the member for CAN here. Sir, you've heard both sides, right? But one thing that's very certain is this term of genocide. And Benga rightfully put during our opening segment of the show today, where he said there's an academic term and there's a point where one can declare genocide. Now, we know that the hearing is happening today at UN, and we've seen statements made by the pop star and rap artist Nicki Minaj. We've also seen the comments from the global affairs analyst as well as our analyst here in the studio. And so I do have to ask you, do you think that this genocide claims is a bit much, or is there empirical fact, as a learned colleague would state, to back up that claim of a genocide? And what do you expect from the UN hearing today?
Colleagues, global analysts who are making their comments, and I do respect their comments, but let me be honest. I live here in the north. These killings have been targeted, sustained, and consistent. We don't have to wait until we reach millions of people killed, as in Rwanda, before we declare that we have a genocidal intent killings taking place in Nigeria. So please, Khan has stated a position. We stand by it. You only needed to be around yesterday to see the unity of Christian voices across the country affirming this idea of the fact that genocide is taking place. It is real. So we don't have time for me to go into details. But let me also say that the idea is that Khan it's not saying that others are not being killed, but we're talking about the targeting of Christians. The international community needs to drum up what they're doing. Why? For the simple reason that we've been quiet in Nigeria. Many of us are being politically correct, including some of the public policy analysts. They've been killing people in the north. Consistent. It increased when, by 2010, when they started in full earnest, going to Christian communities, stacking them, hacking people to death. There's no time for me to actually begin to reel out statistics. But let me just say that we have a problem in our hands. If we do not want the international community to cry out, let Nigerians cry out, all of us collective, Christians and Muslims, working together to see that these killings comes to an end. Let's work together with the government and everybody, just every stakeholder in Nigeria, so that these killings come to an end.
Reverend Palomalam, quickly, before we move on to our next guest, can you paint a picture of what a solution would look like, and what are the demands of Khan?
Thank you. I think this I'm going to just profess some suggestions from what I heard yesterday. I think there's need for us to work together across the religious divide to see that we unite together to see that the killings is brought to an end in Nigeria. And Khan also appealed yesterday through the address of the president that all those who have been sacked from Christian communities in southern Kaduna, in Benue, in Plateau, in Borno State, the Goza area, the Chibok areas, let all of them be resettled back to their ancestral homelands. Let me just put it that way so that we can save time. But let me also say that as a people, we need to come together and continue to work to promote peaceful coexistence. We acknowledge that there are Christians and Muslims in Nigeria. Let the Muslims stop killing the Christians.
All right. If you're just tuning in, we're talking about the Christian genocide allegations as the Khan national leadership has now thrown their weight behind the claims by U.S. government and President Donald Trump. And now we have seen the address at the UN, calling for concerns regarding Christian genocide. Now we'll continue in-depth analysis. Our guest today is Jike Okpa, who joins us from Texas as a global affairs analyst. Here in the studio as well is, of course, none other than a friend of the house, Jason, who joins us as well as a member of CAN. Let's go to a short break. When we return on the other side, we'll continue with in-depth analysis and this discussion. Don't go anywhere. Stay with us. And you're welcome back. If you're just tuning in, we're talking about the allegations of Christian genocide by the U.S. government and the label of the country as a country of particular concern. Now, we've seen all the events unfolded in the last 3 weeks, plus the address that was given at the UN by rap star Nicki Minaj, who is calling for more attention to to Nigeria, beg your pardon, and also threats by the U.S. government. They've said that without decisive action to stop the genocide, there will be military action on the country. Now, joining us earlier on the program was a member of CAN. Unfortunately, he had to leave us. That was Reverend Malam. He was a member of CAN who was just giving us a bit of insight following CAN's resolution. They've now thrown their weight behind that allegation and said in no uncertain terms that there's Christian genocide in the country. Now, also joining us as well from earlier on the break is Global Affairs Analyst joining us live from Texas, United States, Ejike Okpa. He's here with us virtually, and also right here in the studio is Public Affairs Analyst Sheson Okunade.
Just before we come to our in-house analysts and our guests, we'll crave your indulgence to go to Kebbi State for a few minutes to touch base with our correspondent Jamil Mabia, who's at the government secondary school in Maga, Kebbi State, where the sad incident of the kidnapping of the 25 girls occurred a few days ago. Good morning to you, Jamil. Could you keep us up to speed with the situation there, and what's the latest report? Are there any news of the recovery of the girls? We learned that the governor of Kebbi State visited the site yesterday. Could you just give us updates on the situation where you are? Thank you.
All right. The recent update is I just learned that the vice president will be visiting Kebbi later during the day, but what we're not certain whether the vice president will come down to the school or he's just going to stay in the state capital, Kebbi, and extend his sympathy to the governor. That is it. And the second thing is regarding the abduction of the 26 girls. As of now, 2 of the girls were able to escape themselves, and they're being reunited with their parents and what have you. And again, just like what I said yesterday, the governor also in his statement says he has an intelligence report prior to the attack, which also the district head of Maga town, which we spoke to, told us that the governor had to make sure that when he had the intelligence report, he made sure that all forces were mobilized and stationed in the school, especially the military. And to even, he had a follow-up. He said, okay, once they are there, he made confirmation by pictures. So they sent pictures and told him everything was in order. But around 1 a.m., the military withdrew from the school. Then the next hour, that was when the bandits, attacked the school. So there are a lot of unanswered questions to that angle of why the military withdrew even after having the intelligence report and been told or informed that first thing will certainly happen, but after they left an hour, the incidents happened. And again, a lot of media outlets, both international and national, carried the news that the vice principal was killed during the attack. That information was completely wrong, not accurate. It was the chief security officer of the school and 1 other security personnel that were killed during the attack. And, along the axis or all the roads leading to Maga, we've seen military vehicles stationed at strategic locations, because to them, they're keeping vigilance that the bandits are believed to be within Kebbi territory. Once they are allowed to enter, or go over the Zamfara territory, it's going to be very hard for security operatives to free or rescue the girls. So far, this has been the update, and we're still waiting on the principal and some of the parents we had that they will be visiting the schools, so we get to talk to them and understand different angles and perspectives from the perspective of the students who were able to escape, and also from the perspective of the school staff administration that were stationed in the school, and probably from the policemen that were around when the incidents happened. So by this, we can have a holistic insights.
Right. Jamil, very quickly, if you can hear me, I just want to find out the preparation that's underway to receive the Vice President, Kashim Shettima. We understand he's coming into the state today. Do you know anything regarding preparation from the state government or from the local government area, Maga, where the school is situated at?
And what's security presence like as we speak? What's the security situation like?
Okay, there isn't much presence of security personnel here in Maga town, but probably in Birnin Kebbi, which is almost 7 hours, 7 hours travel from where we are. But it's just one vehicle of military personnel, and the APC, vehicles are stationed in front of the gate. And some of the students have resumed. I landed the parked at the school, but there isn't that heavy security presence at the moment here in the school, but probably in Birnin Kebbi, the state capital, if and only if the Vice President will be coming today, definitely there will be heavy personnel there in Birnin Kebbi. But here it's just normal, security operatives that are stationed.
Thank you so much for your time, News Central correspondent Jamil Mabai, speaking to us live from Maga in Kebbi State. And he did give a geographical picture of the area. It's 7 hours from the capital, Birnin Kebbi. We'll definitely connect with you in our subsequent programs and bulletin here on News Central Television. Now, back to our guest as we discuss Nigeria's designation as a country of particular concern, and also the alleged Christian genocide. I'd like to come to Mr. Ejike Okpa. Tomorrow, the United States Congress is going to hold a special session, and they will be speaking with the eyewitnesses. This is following the background of Nigeria being designated as a country of particular concern. Yet, we're yet to appoint an ambassador to Washington. And I don't think we have, there are talks of back-channel communications happening. But what's the implication of this to Nigeria? What comes next when the United States government has taken particular interest in our country?
Is there a question for any
the question is directed to you, Mr. Okpa.
Oh, to me?
Yes,
sir. Thank you.
You're in the U.S., so you're the right person.
I lost the audio. Hey, good question. Look, this genocide has specific number of people that have to have been killed before it's a serious consequence. What sort of bothers me is how the Nigerian leadership, either from the national or the local state, takes some of these things. Nigerians have to be invested in their own security. They don't enforce police people or the military. They are not magicians. That's what we call in America, see something, say something. We have to sensitize, educate Nigerians to also be aware of their surroundings. Because, you gotta, before somebody attacks you or do something to you, there may be whispers, there may be something. But you go back and you look at it, that the governors did what they call the security vote. I don't know what are they trying to secure? Is it security for themselves or security for their state? But, the National Assembly have to go back and look at some of these laws or some of the things that are going on that nobody's addressing. In America, when certain things happen, there's what they call situation, room. In fact, when things like this happen to America, the president immediately goes to the situation room and gives a national broadcast or national views of what they think. He has said in the earlier part of the segment that, Tinubu is out of the country. I don't want to pick on him, but Tinubu is, obviously doing what, presidents before him or heads of state before him have done. They are always insensitive. They are always in denial. They are, well, it doesn't happen. So what Nigerians have to, and the Nigerians have to start collecting data on what is going on in their locality. I don't know any particular state that will say, they started from their villages. Every year this number of people got killed. Not the Igwes, not the Amanabos, MS. There's a need for a serious orientation of Nigeria Nigeria. Because democracy in itself doesn't guarantee you anything. The people have to be actively involved and engaged in things that, and in fact, engage your elected officials. In this case, your assembly members, your house, and say, this is what we want. I wanted to ask the gentleman from Khan, has Khan ever initiated any law? You know, because how you initiate a law is you introduce it, you pass it, you give it to every member, and you ask certain members, whether they're from, people are sympathizing with your religion or somebody else, I say, would you guys introduce it on the floor of the house? What is happening in Nigeria is Nigerians wait for the lawmakers to tell them what to do. Democracy is very, very effective and useful to people when the people tell those they elect, this is what we want you to talk about. Nigerians, again, have no solution. There's no perfect nations or perfect societies. People have to constantly be aware, and that is what is not going on in Nigeria. Everybody is discharged, detached, and say, oh, let the governor do it, or let the president. They are human beings. They get 24 hours in a day. So if that's a solution or suggestion that I have to make, let all these people, there should be an interreligious alliance and coalition in Nigeria where the Christians and everybody, they don't even look at just the Muslims and the Christians. They are the non-believers. There are most people who don't even believe in it. They too are getting killed. There should be that inter- and intra-religious coalition where they meet from time to time and talk about what is going on. Embrace each other. Nigerians haven't found it. If some of them have said, oh, the Muslim, the Fulanis, the Hausas, the Christians, there is no perfect tribe in Nigeria. There is no tribe that is leading an example that somebody said, let me copy and paste. Everybody's more like, even animals in the zoo behave better because animals in the zoo, they have a minder. Who is the minder for Nigerians? Nigerians claim and say that they are the smartest people. Please run a smart country. The image of the black race is shuttered because there's no black president in the world that has international credibility. Is it Tinubu? Is it the guy in Kenya? Name it. Every race, every continent has somebody they can put forward and say, hey, this person, when they speak for us, we're all excited. Who speaks for the black race? Nigeria is the most populous black nation. Act like it. Stop throwing around the PhD, doctor, blah, blah, blah. At the end of the day, you have a dysfunctional society that nobody knows what is going on. Look at the schools. In America, we know how many law enforcement agencies. We have 16,000 law enforcement agencies. We have killings in our schools. That's why we call them now resource officers. So maybe in all these 6 political zones, create resource law enforcement just for schools, and make sure every school that is in that particular geography has a policeman or somebody trained to protect the school so that the kids can feel comfortable, go to school and go back home. You can't just have this in season, attacks, people getting kidnapped, and everybody just try to look the other way, say, oh, it doesn't happen. Please, Nigerians, please, I'm saying if you're I'm a Nigerian American, I'm probably not going to come back to live in that country. But I visit. My point is that the image of the black person is damaged because of the way Nigerian government and leadership behaves. It is very shameful.
Mr. Chesson, I have to ask you because Mr. Okpa here said that Nigerians in some sense have, somewhat lost direction when it comes to holding the government accountable and whether or not the CAN has been able to lobby for certain bills and laws being passed. But the very core of the democracy, in fact, the very core and duty of the president when he's sworn in is a swear to protect every person in spite of their identity, religion.
That's why he's commander-in-chief.
That's why he's commander. So should we victim blame or should we blame Nigerians and not holding power accountable? Have they not done that in the past couple of years, or have we Are we slacking in our hold for power accountability?
Yeah, thank you very much, Judith. I have this to say that Nigerians are not slacking. There is no day on this particular station and other sister station that people don't call these leaders to question on certain things that they're doing. But you ask yourself the question, how much do they actually react? They only respond to the ones that they know has to do with them. Going in line with what my brother said, the fact remains that it's entrenched in our constitution, section 14 subsection 2b, that the primary responsibility of the government is to provide security and better welfare for the citizen. Is this being done? You see, the disheartening thing as I speak is that the current commander-in-chief of armed forces of the country, while he was a governor, championed the issue of state policing. And you can know that as we have in Lagos State, where he was once a governor, we have the neighborhood watch that was created, and they have the backing of the state assembly to actually function and augment the service of the security architecture. We have the RRS, which was actually given the backing also, a branch of Nigerian police that we have in Lagos that is actually there. And I ask myself, what till now is holding back the issue of empowering the state governors, which can actually bring down the power of this security architecture to local government, from local government to communities. As far as we are concerned, I keep saying that we have 4 tiers of government. The federal government is there, the state is there, the local government is there, and the traditional leaders. You can imagine, Benga, you and I were looking at each other when the reporter was saying that the distance of where that happening in Kebbi to the capital is 7 hours. Drive. I can tell you that we'll discuss this later. Vice President will not visit such. 7 hours drive.
Let's hope he does.
7 hours
if
drive.
the president didn't visit Yewata, what makes you think he's going to go to Maga?
7 hours drive. So you can imagine the level of non-governance that is happening in that area. And we keep saying it that there was a time there was this killing in Kaduna that was predominantly, you know, the talk of the town. And that was when I had a program. In fact, my family was like, why do you have to go to Kaduna at this point when the only... That was when we had this attack on the plane crash, plane that killed that military man. And I was at the capital where I said we even went out on the normal show. And we came in late and we're asking, where are these killing happening? They said, no, not at this area. But when you go to the suburb, it's part of what we've said, that we need to take this security down the street. You should hold the traditional leaders accountable and
finally, just before we go, the Senate yesterday in a session did call for the recruitment of 100,000 Nigerians into the armed forces. Do you think that would make any difference?
That will not make any difference.
The president is also away as well. The chief of the commander, our chief commander, is away on to G20 plus the AU, Angola as well. Let's put that into factors. We're talking about
the truth of the matter is every leader that comes in prioritize what they want for the citizen. And I've said it that this administration seems to be more revenue driven than talking to the lives of individuals that has happened. Because I was expecting that with this that has happened, with the kidnapping in Kebbi, the attack in Kwara, and we don't pray that any happened today, but you can never say. We expect that Mr. President will actually ask the vice to pay that visit, and why he stayed back to month with what has actually happened.
So unfortunately, we've come to the end of today's show. I'd like to say a very big thank you to the gentlemen that joined us for this very important conversation, Reverend Paramalam, Ejiko Opai in Texas, and of course, yours, our dear friend here, Mr. Sheson Okwade. Thanks for being a part of today's Breakfast Central. We'll join you tomorrow, and the lone move is over. Sadly.
Yes, it's over. It's over for now.
But you can borrow me one of those weekends.
The gang will be back tomorrow, by the way. So, of course, make sure to join Joe and Olive, and as well Benga Bora. My name is Judith.
And catch Judith and I at the special town hall tomorrow to speak on gender violence.
Make sure to join us 1 p.m. tomorrow. For now, it's good morning.